So it's time for the New Orleans Pelicans, our last division for our recording. And I'm sorry, I just got to open my notes because I've got to find what division that is. So sorry. It's a Southwest division. So we're getting close to Texas. It's going to be good. Um, Pelicans. Used to be the New Orleans Hornets, not confused with the bad Charlotte Hornets. So a couple of options we had here. We had, the Chris Paul era, before he gets traded to Lakers, I mean Clippers. That big what if trade, probably a bit of an iconic moment that I thought about a little bit. And then I really had nothing up until you, where you've mentioned the Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins pairing. That was paired up with Rajon Rondo, and they just looked ready to take over the world with the Twin Towers for 20 games until DeMarcus Cousins did his Achilles. And then they were really competitive against the Suns in a playoff series a couple of years back. And that's it. And I haven't picked any of those moments because what I've picked is your biggest what if. And I'm not trying to be cheeky with the adjective biggest. It's just Zion Williamson doing a dunk in the off season. These are the moments that trend. This is what people know about New Orleans Pelicans. Oh, who are they? Oh, they've got Zion Williamson. Oh, yeah, cool. Can you show me a highlight? And most of the highlights probably occur with him in street clothes because he doesn't play a lot. I'm going to be honest with you, Vals. I'm not feeling the Pelicans. This is one where I just was like, I'm going to pick an image and we're going to
Hey,
move on. So
I feel
there it
like
is.
time to make a coffee, dude. Time to make a coffee. I said you can convince me how you picked this image that's grainy and blurry and poor lighting of Zion throwing a dunk in is the most iconic image in franchise history. Um, I think the Zion chapter is still currently in progress. I think that's the most optimistic way to look at it. Okay, and look, I clearly have not gone for anything in the Zion era. You spoiled my whole image. Thanks, dude. All right. So clearly, I've gone for Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins. For that 20 or so games, like you already mentioned, in the New Orleans uniform. And this was some level of craziness. If you actually think about this, I'm not sure whether you want to sort of, if you're a Pelicans fan, whether you sort of laugh or cry or sort of how you sort of feel your emotions about this 20 games. Okay, because they traded for Boogie Cousins, and he was still at his peak prime at that point before the injuries. Okay, and they literally, you could make the argument, had the two best big men in the league. Yeah, you don't see that often. Yeah, you really don't see that often. You think back, who else had that? I don't know, Tim Duncan, David Robinson. Yeah, I don't know, Elijah Wen and Ralph Sampson, right? Back then in the 90s, 80s sort of situation. Um, who else? Who else? Like, help me out here. Like, right now, off the top of your head, who else? What other franchises could claim that they have two of the top big men in their primes in their franchise history? This just doesn't happen. You get two core players that are not that sort of two bigs. Yeah, you get that guard and the wing, you might have point and the center, and so on and so forth, right? And these guys were averaging 20 and 10. These guys are both on any night give you 25 and 10. Okay, that's craziness. And then they were winning. That was the thing as well. They were winning. And then, as it happens in history, in NBA history, yeah, injuries occur, and that happened, and that was the end of that. Yeah, but to me, and you sort of said this, like, you're disinterested in the whole Pelicans franchise, right? And, track them back to where they've come from and where they're going, who knows, right? But it's, I don't know. I think this one here stands out to me. I picked this image because you've got a franchise, you're winning, you got these two guys that are killing it as franchise cornerstones. One guy gets injured, other guy wants to then leave because you gave him nothing else besides this 20 games with Boogie Cousins. I don't know. It's a huge what if. It's actually a huge what if. Feels like an underrated what if, okay, of an injury that changed the trajectory of a franchise.
I think it's just too small of a sample size. I think that's the part that makes it difficult. It was really encouraging, but there's been lots of really encouraging stretches. Like Linsanity is the one that comes to mind. Linsanity was like ready for a Hall of Fame career, right? Because he had
Bullshit.
a really strong 2 weeks.
No, no way. No way. I'm going to interrupt right now. You cannot compare Boogie Cousins with insanity. Boogie Cousins was an all-star at the Kings that the Pelicans somehow was able to trade for because they were so unhappy at the Kings. Okay, Insanity was an undrafted guard that just got a hot streak. That's not a comparable. That is not
No,
comparable.
I
Try
think
again. Try again.
you've jumped. No, I'm gonna double down on it because what you're trying to reference is you're trying to reference that him joining the team was really positive and they looked really impressive. There are lots of impressive stretches in the NBA that are 20 game sample sizes. You want to see sustained success. DeMarcus Cousins always had talent, but Sacramento never did anything for him with it. He didn't nothing for them. Who knows what the comparable thing is there?
I,
I
I,
personally
I,
think I like it as a what if. I
I,
like it as a niche category. Like, what are the biggest what ifs for a short period of time?
I
Like,
think
what
there's a
if Lance Stevenson was at the Atlanta Hawks for longer than 6 games? You know, like
I think there's a
what would have
compare.
happened
If you
then?
want to pick some comparable moments here to DeMarcus Cousins' stint with the Pelicans, I probably two that jump to mind that fairly recent. One, you could say the what if era of KD, Harden, and Kyrie Irving. Yeah, that's a what if
Yep.
era. They played a really small sample size of games together. So that's the asterisk there. They were literally on the same roster for over 2 years. Okay, for 2 years, yeah, but they played a real small sample size together because they literally couldn't get three players on the court together. So I'll say that's comparable. All right, but that there's a level of argument there that if they played more games, that level of success would have been sustainable. Yeah, if they were healthier more, there's no argument. I don't think anyone could say that, oh, they were going to lose more games. Yeah, they're going to lose more games, that percentage was going to drop significantly. You would expect them to win games. The other one that you could probably say is comparable is right now, or what just happened with Kyrie now going to join Luca. Now, that's the opposite side of things where that small sample size actually was so negative. Yeah, so negative that that they really couldn't win games, and that sort of guard pairing. And that's the thing, right? Two lead point guards, right, that need the ball in their hands. All right, just is in my opinion, not going to pay off for the Mavs. Okay, definitely not going to win them a ring. Okay, but I guess right now this is a big man pairing that occurred back then that clearly if you think about it, two bigs can probably coexist. Yeah, much easier than two guards that necessarily need that ball in their hands. They bring up the floor, ball up the floor, they set the offense up, and they make the decisions in that aspect. Um, and look, I don't know. You're going to argue it's a small sample size, can't sort of counter that. It's factual. It's factual. But I'm saying that the Boogie Cousins AD era, if Boogie Cousins had stayed healthy and they had both continued to play together, would have won a lot of games. That's all I'm trying to say.
Mm.
And the Pelicans now would have been a franchise where you start to actually think about them and care about them because they're winning games. That's why we don't care about them because they don't win games. They don't win games. You care about franchises that win.
Totally right. We don't care about them at all.
This is two guys with spare time. I'm Faz, this is Nick. You're probably a basketball fan like us, so hopefully you can throw us an assist and giving our video a like and subscribing to our channel.
And if you got thoughts, feelings, or even some suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below. And thank you for using your spare time to watch us in our spare time.